Guys, welcome back to Hook, Wine and Stitches. Sammy here, and today we're going to be looking at the V-stitch. So the example that we're looking at right now probably looks a little bit different to what you've normally seen. I'm using a big number 5 chunky yarn, and the reason I'm using this is because I love the colours in it, but if you look at it closely, see if I can fix that glare a little so you can see it better. Right, that's the best we're going to get. You can see it's a bit fuzzy and it's not very tightly wound. If we look at a piece of the Aran weight that I normally work with, you can see how well that is wound together. There's hardly any fluffy bits sticking off. Not none, but hardly any, and you can see the way it's twisted. This stuff has very little twist, and it's kind of halfway between roving and yarn. So you can see how fuzzy it is there. So it's beautiful yarn. It is gorgeously soft, but a yarn like that, you don't want to be working in single crochet or anything that's too tight. The V-stitch is quite loose and consists simply of double crochet and chains. As you can see, it works up beautifully. It's still nice and warm. With a chunky yarn like this, it doesn't look gappy. With a thinner yarn, you're going to see the V's a bit more pronounced. So that's a V there with another V in it. Another V. No. They're all V's. All the way along and up. We've got some double crochet to finish off our ends and keep them nice and square and straight. The other kind of yarn that this stitch is great for, anything chunky of course, but those chenille yarns that make it impossible to see where your stitches are, great to use them with the V-stitch. Alright, I'm going to work a foundation chain. For this stitch, you'll want a foundation chain that is a multiple of 3. So any size you like, as long as it's a multiple of 3, and then you're going to add 7 onto the end of that. So I am going to do 15, which is a multiple of 3, and then I'm going to add my 7. So my foundation chain will be 22 stitches long. Alright guys, I'll see you back here soon so we can get started on this stitch. Okay guys, I've made a chain of 22. So remembering for our foundation row for this stitch, we want something that is multiple of 3, and then once we're close to that desired length, that's a multiple of 3, we're going to add 7 stitches. Now to begin working the V-stitch, I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to work into the 4th loop from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, making sure I go through and get both loops. As I said, this is a yarn that you wouldn't want to work a lot of tight stitches in because it isn't very tightly wound. Now, because we've worked into the 4th chain, we've skipped 4 loops, which works as a double crochet, 3 loops rather. So I've just put 2 double crochet into the first stitch of the row. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch and pop a double crochet into the second, just making sure that we're going through both loops for our foundation chain. And complete a double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to put a second double crochet into the same loop. Alright, that's our first V-stitch. I'm going to skip the next loop, working into the second with a double crochet, chain 1, a double crochet. So putting double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into a single stitch creates the V. So we're going to repeat that all the way across. So we skip 1, double crochet into the second, chain 1, double crochet into the second. You can see, because I'm using quite a chunky yarn, it's quite a tight stitch. If I was using something smaller like a DK or Aran weight, you would see a bigger gap between the stitches of each V, and where we're skipping a chain to move on to create our next one. So I'll let you guys repeat that all the way to the end. Stop when you've got 3 stitches left, and I'll meet you back here to finish the row and show you how to turn. I've repeated that V-stitch all the way across. You can see how fuzzy that yarn looks. It's beautifully soft, but even just doing the V-stitch, it's been a little tricky. Anywho, 3 stitches left. We're going to skip 1, and then we're going to put a double crochet, oops, into each of the last 2 stitches. So 1, a 2. So 1 double crochet into each of the last 2 stitches finishes out our row. We're ready to turn our work. You're going to chain 3, turn over, ready to start our next row. Okay, our chain 3 will count as our first double crochet. We're going to pop a double crochet into the second stitch. Then we're going to work into the chain space, so the V. We've got our 2 stitches there in the one chain, so we're going to work a double crochet into that space, chain 1, and another double crochet. We skip the double crochet and work into the chain space again, so the next V with a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. You can see the V from our previous row and the V we've put just in the center. Skipping our double crochet, working into the chain in the middle of the V with a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. So you'll repeat that all the way across, finishing in the same way. I'll meet you there to show you though, because we've got one of our double crochets was actually a chain space. But that is the very simple, very fast working V-stitch. I'll meet you back here in a moment to show you how to finish out the second round and start on the third. Finish placing those V-stitches into the center of the V-stitches from the previous row, and pop a double crochet into the next double crochet. Now our second one is the chain space, so we just want to make sure we get into the third loop of that chain, so not in the actual space but into the chain loop with a double crochet, and then we repeat again. Chain 3, turn our work over, Now you can make this as big or as small as you want. I've just done a smaller section so it's easier to show you where the turns are. Chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. The second one, we pop a double crochet into the top of the double crochet, and then we're skipping to work into the chain 1 space in the center of our V. With a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So every row we're working a V stitch into the center of our V stitch. It's just such a fast working, versatile pattern, and as I said earlier, it's great for those weird yarns that are a bit too chunky, a bit too felty, not well twisted, that you're worried you're going to just continually catch with smaller stitches. I hope you've enjoyed learning the V-stitch. Thank you so much for tuning in to Hook, Wind and Stitches. Enjoy hooking something awesome up with the V-stitch. Until next time, happy hooking!